Hi guys and welcome to Design Fundamentals Understanding Design Feedback, a Tuts Plus premium course. I'm Ben Gribbin and today I'll be deciphering design feedback as well as looking at ways we can collect it. Design feedback, you'll get a lot of it over a design career and it's often viewed as a criticism of one's skills. Design feedback is actually a very important tool for reworking your designs till they meet a client's brief completely. So let's say you have a design. How can you actually gather feedback from your client? Let's have a think about a presentation. That's right. You need to show your client the workpiece. That seems quite obvious. And if you're a motion designer or a flash designer, it might be a little bit more difficult, but the simplest and easiest way is just to send your client a link. Upload it somewhere to FTP and with either a few JPEGs of the file laid out or even just a direct link to one of the JPEGs. And that's going to allow them to just view your design. It's not completely foolproof though, because you may end up getting or they may end up getting confused when they bounce back with a host of revisions that are quite vague, causing a slower design process as you seek clarification. So, for example, a client might say, "Oh, that line about halfway down," or "that logo on the bottom right," it can be left open to a bit of interpretation, which could cause issues. So, what else could cause a problem? Lorem ipsum or dummy text. Depending on your client, when you go to present your first mockups, you may choose to either use lorem ipsum or not. Now, if you have the intended final copy, try to use that because no matter who you work with, there will always be one person who says it's not in English. Present your client with a design that is as close as you can get to the finished project, or at least in your mind. And if you have to use lorem ipsum, it might be just simply worth mentioning that it's only placeholder text that's used so they can just focus on the design but see the design fleshed out with content. And hopefully that'll often result in them not focusing on the fact that it's in Latin. If your client prefers meetings, grab your laptop and use either Keynote or PowerPoint to actually demo the design for them. Of course, if you're designing for the web, you could make a quick working demo site to show them, or make a full one using wireframing software or even Microsoft Publisher. Brochure designers and advert designers, you guys can actually just go ahead and show them mock-ups of what the final product would look like. Perhaps you could do some Photoshop renderings of an advert on an actual billboard or a newspaper design in the hands of a reader. And these little details are going to help your clients really put things into perspective. But if you do this, you want to make sure you also just include some static full page displays that can help them when they want to focus on the detail. And as for recording feedback, perhaps the easiest method is to take a notepad with you and just ask them to point out what they'd like changing. Equally, you could take a long printout of your design and get you or the client to mark down on the design itself changes that need making. You could use post-it notes on that for longer, more lengthy feedback points, and that just is a simple, easy way. It works perfectly. There's very little room for confusion, and the client is always going to be working with the visuals themselves. And then when you come back to need to make alterations later, you can see exactly what and where they meant. There's no room for confusion. The only slight problem is you could possibly lose that sheet. But there are a few websites and services that will help you when presenting visuals. So what we've done is we've just done a quick little video of an application called Bounce, which might help you when working along with clients. Right, let's have a look at Bounce then. So Bounce is a brilliant idea for just being able to quickly and easily show clients, friends, or enemies, as it says there, just people to get feedback on things. Now, it's very, very simple. All you need to do is go to the bounceapp.com, and then if we type in an address, for example, if we go to envato.com, if we grab a screenshot, it will load the screenshot into this app. Okay, so now we've got basically a graphic of the Envato website, and we can email this or share this with basically anybody we want. So we've got the entire page, it takes a big screenshot, and what you can now do is you can give it a title. So you could call it Mockup 1. you can set your name, and also if you sign up, it's free, you can go ahead and send it to your clients. Now, it's very easy to use for anybody who doesn't even have to have kind of like computer knowledge. All they'd have to do is hover over, and there's one thing you can do. You can just add notes. That's it. There's nothing else to get confused with. So, say they could come on here and they could add a little note just saying too big, and then click OK, and then down here they can click on here, scroll down, they can add a note just saying perfect. And there's no kind of limit on the size of that box. It can get bigger and smaller, so they can just add feedback on there and then send you it. And that's great because it's going to save you time. I mean, you don't have to go ahead and meet every time you have a little revision. So that's perhaps one little app you should consider. And you know, you don't just want feedback from clients. Don't forget too that before and after you show your clients the work, try to get feedback from design peers first and then family and friends afterwards. Now the important thing is you ask them to be 100% honest. Family and friends tend to be too nice, but they might spot something that you haven't, so this will all go towards getting you extra feedback. And after all, there's no such thing as too much feedback, too many opinions, and technically no one's opinion is ever wrong. The idea of showing your design peers something first is they'll help you tweak the design itself, whether it may be just something technical adjustment that needs making, or something doesn't quite sit right. It's going to be generally more detailed stuff, more design orientated stuff than a client would probably notice. So try to be organised with the feedback you receive, for example by recording it somewhere for later reference, and with each round of revisions you can just sit down, make a list of changes that need to be made based off the feedback, and then go ahead and do them. User testing. User testing is absolutely crucial for websites and software applications. You want to make sure that a design works. Often as designers we get too emotionally involved with the design and become blind to its weaknesses. Because you're there creating the design, you always understand it. It's natural. You've made it and spent hours poring over it whilst getting familiar with nearly every pixel. So when you do a little test run in your head, you're like, oh, contacts over there, comments there down here, oh, the order now button, checkout button, it's just there. That's not realistic. You need fresh eyes to really test the design. People that can look at it for the first or second time and give their honest opinions and thoughts. It's generally said on the internet that you have maybe 1 or 2 seconds to make a real impact and convince a visitor to make a move or even just to stay on the website. So your design needs to be user friendly. In order to test that, you should do a user test. Now we've done a little video of an application called Silverback that's very easy to use and should help you when user testing. Let's have a look at an app now called Silverback, which is really going to help out when you're doing user testing. And there's many other apps available, but Silverback is one that we've tried before and it works very well because it has got screen capture built in, it's got the video of the tester's face. It can record the tester's voice so they could provide you narrative as they are testing out your design or website. You can also add chapter markers on the fly, control recording with a remote, and export to QuickTime. So let's just do a little mini demo of Silverback then. We've got it open here. All you need to do, you go into new project, let's call it project 1 for ease, and start a new session. And you're going to do that for every tester that you have. So here's your tester. Or here am I as a tester. Just call me Ben. You can add some notes, such as if they had any kind of special impairments or anything like that, and then go ahead and start the session. So they can just come along. You can take your laptop along, use this app on your laptop, hit spacebar, and it's just going to record everything they do. But it's also recording video of them whilst they're working on whatever they're doing. So if we go ahead and look on I don't know, let's just look on text edit. Let's just say this is an app that you'd built. They can go through, play about with it, and you can see how they're using it, and that's going to help you examine any potential problems or things that don't quite work. And because they're offering audio narrative on what they're doing as well, they can say, oh, I'm a bit stuck now, or whatever. And the best thing about Silverback is it doesn't have to just be for website designs. You could use this to test brochures, adverts, films, whatever you like. So it's a brilliant little app. You don't need specialist software to do this either. You could simply grab your MacBook, download a screen recording program and achieve something very similar. And if you're really serious, you could set up an external camera too to examine their feedback. For example, frustration that hasn't quite come across from their actions or comments. You'll then need to sit down and compile all the feedback you receive. Perhaps if you're testing dozens of people, set up a sort of tally for problems. Then if a problem comes up more than 5 times, for example, you should just address it. But if only once, then think long and hard, whether it was just that person on that day. This kind of feedback is invaluable because it's real time, it's live. So today we've looked at a few ways of gathering feedback from clients as well as how to collect a real pool of data from user testing. And your assignment for today's course is to consider how you can gather client feedback in the future and how you use it. Try to be organised when collecting it and spend time collating it into a prioritised list afterwards. Next time on Design Fundamentals, we're going to cover deliverables. Thanks for listening.